were talking before we started about the research I've done with the atomic bomb and my books on that, and that I found that the Germans were working on atomic weapons too, and you said you agreed with that.
Oh yes, in the research that I did trying to find out more about the V7 weapons development program, it turned out that the Nazi Anti-Lungstel SSE-4 also had an atomic bomb development project going. And they had succeeded in manufacturing and testing atomic bombs, including the first hydrogen bomb, and which they tested in a former German colony in Africa, by the way.
Oh, that's where they tested it.
That's where they tested it. And they had, at the time that Germany collapsed, we found 2 German bombs in underground facilities in the Harz Mountains, where the community was building the bombs is entirely isolated from the outside world.
See, this sounds very much like the information I've got. And, mine is past life regression, but I keep finding things no one knows. And it was about a laboratory that was supposed to be in the mountains.
All underground.
It was in the ground, and they said each person had a part of the formula. So no one knew the entire formula. But it turned out someone made a mistake, and the entire laboratory blew up. So I said, how do we know what was destroyed? And in the mountains, who would have even noticed anything? Do you think this is probably true?
That may be true. What we did capture when that section of Germany fell into American hands, by the way, and we backed our trucks into the facilities there and hauled off the documents, we did find 2 complete bombs in
the underground bunkers?
Carefully secured underground bunkers. One of them was a big bomb, a uranium bomb, and the other one was a longer, more slender bomb that was a plutonium bomb. So the Germans had 2 atomic bomb projects going simultaneously. The uranium bomb and the plutonium bomb.
People always think we were the only ones, but this way that means we were both probably developing at the same rate of development.
Well, they were ahead of us because
they
had theirs ready. Their bombs were all ready to drop, and they had a target date. In the records we found that they had a target date to drop one on New York and one on Washington, D.C. on the 19th of September of 1945.
That was after VE Day, though.
But it was only a very short time after VE Day.
So they were
very ready. Now, at the same time, the German Heinkel factory had built special bombers to make a one-way flight from Norway to the United States to drop these bombs. And then they would go to Cuba if they couldn't.
Well, see, that's when the information I got when I was doing the research for my book on Hiroshima was that the bomb was developed to be used against Germany in the beginning. It was an experiment to find out. But then when the war ended, they said they couldn't drop it, and that was when it was diverted to be dropped on
there was an interesting story associated with that, too. When we found what the bombs were, and we decided to move them to the United States, we sent 3 bombers to move each bomb. And all 3 of the crews were briefed to believe that they had the real bomb and the others had dummies. So the crews never knew which bomb was the real one.
You're talking about the German ones now.
Of the German ones. When we brought the German ones from Peenemünde back to Offutt Air Force Base in headquarters SAC.
Okay.
And then they were only there for a week at headquarters SAC before we did the same thing and transported them out to Tinian Island. And a week later, we dropped one on Hiroshima, the plutonium bomb, and the uranium bomb on Hiroshima, and dropped the plutonium bomb on Nagasaki.
This was something me and Wendell were talking about just before we went on the air. Is it possible that the bomb we dropped on Hiroshima could have been one of the German bombs? Because Wendell thinks there wasn't enough time after the development with the Manhattan Project.
3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks to have got it and then transported it.
And drop it.
So it's an interesting theory. Who knows? That maybe the bomb we dropped was one of the Germans.
I'm gonna, on a CD I've got, I'm gonna give it to you right after the program here. That has pictures of the German bomb. The one that they call the Fat Man, and the picture is identical to the pictures we took of the fat boy that we dropped on Hiroshima.
Because I didn't think about that. If they did have to get it to the island in those days, things took a lot longer.
10 days. And we only had 3 weeks from the time of our test explosion until we dropped it on Hiroshima.
Yeah. Interesting theory, but then who knows? There's so much of this that was kept secret.
Still kept secret.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a whole lot we'll never know. But that's why you have an inquiring mind. You're like me. You're full of curiosity. You want to know these things. But anyway, how did you get into the UFOs then?
Well,
back when you
at that time we had a mandatory rotational program. We had 2 years in the zone of injury, which is the United States, and 2 years overseas. Mm-hmm. And after 2 years in the zone of injury, you became vulnerable for an overseas assignment. And you would get one within a short time, and then that would be another 2-year period, then you'd rotate back to the States again. So I was reaching the end of my 2-year ZI, zone of interior assignment, and going to be assigned overseas. And when it came, it was assigned to Alaska, which was considered an overseas base at the time.
Okay.
It was not a state. It wasn't a state then, it was territory.
Yeah.
And when I got to Alaska, I found that my job there, my additional duty, was to supervise a team of highly technical, highly classified civilians, 6 of them, from my home base at Wright Field, from the Air Technical Intelligence Center, that were installing special equipment aboard the B-29s that were flying their target profile missions on Russia. Remember, every B-29 crew had to fly a simulated bomb drop once a year. And they flew all of the correct legs up to the last change of direction, then they'd change that back and drop it on the simulated drop on our side of the frontier.
Okay.
So, since that was already funded, and the airplanes were flying, and the crews were being paid, there were piggyback programs that were attached to that requirement. One of them was to look for this anomalous aerial phenomena.
They already knew there was strange things out there.
They knew that, yes, and those B-29s were having an event, experiencing an event about twice a month. The airplanes went out every night, sometimes more than once, on their profile missions, and only about 1 out of 15 flights or so had an event to report. When they reported the event, the crews returned to Anchorage, Alaska. We separated the crew members, one from each other, put them in separate rooms, and then they were interrogated by experts and their testimony taken down in shorthand and packaged with the film rolls and the cartridge cassettes and the rolls of tape and everything from the equipment we put aboard. Now, we put aboard the B-29 surge detectors in each of the electrical systems. There's 5 out of B-29. Yeah. We put radio frequency detectors that would read the entire radio frequency spectrum, scan it, stop on the strongest signal, record it for 30 seconds, then cancel it, scan again for the next strongest, 30 seconds, cancel that till they covered them all, then it would start over, do it again, for the whole 14-hour flight.
So they knew when something was out of the ordinary.
We also put magnetic detectors aboard the airplane to measure ambient changes in the magnetic field. We put thermal detectors that look for changes